You gotta give a couple minutes for the commute, and I think the commute is now the technology between, pressing live and going live. Anyway, today we are talking about SEO and done for you tools. Should you use them? So, if you don't know, I'm Pip, Seymour Digital Media, and we use SEO tools all the time because we do search engine marketing. And this is
Phelan. I work with Pip at Seymour Digital Media.
our powers combined, we do a good job for our clients. So we thought we'd have a tool talk today. Um, and if you're joining us and you use any tools, let's talk about it. So even if you're catching the replay, drop a comment wherever you're catching it. So YouTube Live or Facebook Live or our Facebook business pages. And let us know the tools you use. So I think we're gonna run through ours, Phelan, and we have I mean, who doesn't love a good tool? But I thought we could talk about the big ones, the smaller ones, and then AI as our road path forward, as you might. So let us dig right in, my partner, love and crime. What tool is your favorite for SEO?
For SEO, in general, one that I use probably the most is Screaming Frog.
Oh
It
yeah.
gives me the biggest insights into like any person's website. Just sort of scans it, gives me a pretty good snapshot of what's going on with the website. It's not 100% perfect. It catches 404 errors that you don't like, broken links that just aren't there anymore or are different. Like, so it's not always perfect, but for the most part, I can run anyone's website through it and get a pretty good idea on, what pages they need to update, what pages have too little content. Um,
Mm.
like when we're starting out with a new customer and we got to figure out like what are we even going to do for them, that's the tool that probably is our number one go-to for figuring out things that are going on with them.
Yes. So, it's funny. I don't even have that tool in my list, of course. Of course. Right. Because it's, it's the first tool we use. And I never, well, I don't use it very much. But so if you're, is something happening behind you, in front of you?
Yes, we have our chickens are chasing around chickadees.
Oh.
I guess that they're all fighting over this whatever food's on the ground, and so we have chickens because they're flashes of white running across, and so it's very distracting because it's just out of my peripheral vision. Sorry.
Oh, that's always all good. No, life gets in the way sometimes, right? Um, it's so SEM Rush. Now, would you, or sorry, not SEM Rush, Screaming Frog. Would
That's
you
next on the list.
recommend? That's the first on my list.
Yeah.
Um, so for Screaming Frog, would you recommend it to other SEOs,
Oh,
beginner
absolutely.
SEOs? And
Yeah,
would you
beginners. Yeah, there's
go on?
there's no skill level of a person that I wouldn't recommend Screaming Frog to, because they basically it's really good at getting it, whether it's competition or your own website. You get a really good snapshot, and it gives you a really good launching off point for, hey, you could talk to a client and be like, look, here's all the things I found. This is where we're going to start. It gives, and as you get more advanced, you realize that there's features inside of Screaming Frog that are also for more advanced people. So things that you started out that you're like, oh, this, like, what is the next stage I'm going to go with this? And then there's always more little sections of Screaming Frog, so it it can rise to whatever level you need it to.
Mm. Um, I have a use Echo. So
I can't hear your audio.
now you can't hear me?
Oh, now there, you're back.
Okay. So I pressed a button because it said use noise canceling.
And
Never
it noise
pressed
canceled you. It thought you were noise.
never pressed the buttons while live, but I'm a button pusher. So there's that. But okay, so would you recommend the paid version or the um for Screaming Frog, or just the you can download it and there's a free version, right? And we're always free first.
Yeah, yeah. It's got a pretty generous free tier that That's what I like about it is it just out of the box. Anyone can use
Mm.
both
Oh, say
platforms,
that
Mac.
again. Sorry, cut out.
Out of the box, quit pressing buttons. So out of the box, it works really well, free. And again, as you get more advanced and you're doing bigger websites, then the paid features will come in and come be there to help you with the next level. So like even for beginners that like you're undecided about it, um, or it may not be worth it for you, then the free tier is more than enough to get started. So it's really good tool that way. Your noise canceled again. You were pressing buttons. I
I'm not pressing buttons. Um, noise. So okay, so you would number one tool for SEO. Is it worth it or not? At Screaming Frog, we highly recommend it. Even if you're
yeah.
not paying for the paid tier, we recommend just starting to use it because it's helpful and it helps you kind of audit your website, right?
Your website, your competition's website, because it's agnostic to who owns the website, because
Mm,
it just scans whatever's publicly available.
right.
So it's really useful for anyone who's getting started, trying to figure out, like, we've got someone's website, then they're just got a one pager that we have to build out. And so what we did is we took their competitor's website, we put them through Screaming Frog. We get a list of the services that their competition has out there. And so instantly we kind of have a game plan on, hey, your competition created these pages, or this is something that we should be looking at as well for you. Uh,
Mm. Yeah,
so
yeah,
you could
and that's
use it.
really good.
Yeah, so you could use it as a content strategy. You could use it as just figuring out what's broken. You have an old website that's like been around for 10 years and you've got to revamp it. It gives you a pretty good idea on what pages need revamping, what to cut, all that stuff.
So yeah, and I find the more you get familiar with these tools, the better off you are. Now, that being said, this is a tool we highly recommend.
Yeah.
And even with the AI stuff that's come out, I would still recommend it. And I, if you're going to go into a career for SEO, I think that having Screaming Frog for a tool belt item is huge. Because
hmm
it can do because you do the audit helps you create a strategy if you're looking at your competition. Are the chickens really interesting? No.
No, this one would be a cat that's deciding whether or not he's going to jump on me.
If
The animals.
anybody, yeah, if anybody's interested, we are trying to have an indoor farm at our house, just so you know,
Yeah.
without the outdoor farm animals inside. But we got chickens outside. Anyway, okay, so Screaming Frog, thumbs up. We highly
Yep.
recommend it. Um, so the next one, I'm gonna group these two together, just time savers. But SEMrush and Ahrefs are huge SEO tools that people use. Um,
Yeah.
now we use them. They're both good for different things. But I think you only need really to use one if you're going
Yeah.
to use one. And
Yeah.
although I would like to say, hey, I'd like to get rid of these two tools because they're super expensive, right? Like 200
Yeah.
bucks a month about for each if you're going to round. And that's a lot. That's, $2,500 a year. And so is it worth it? How many clients can you and they go up in tiers with the number of clients, so that makes things harder. Now SEMrush, I'm going to suggest to you that we actually keep it for another year because of all the Google Sheets we use, um because that's part of one of like integrations, right? But we'll talk about that later. But you and I both, I think, we use SEMrush more than we used to, but it is not something we depend on.
Yeah. It's one of the tools that I have found lacking because they're generally we have mostly local SEO clients because those are the
Mm.
people that would probably benefit. A lot of the kind of like just online content space has just been so flooded that you need the only real value is really for SEO, in my experience, or so far in my experience, has been more local companies, like doing what you can to be discovered as like a lawyer or a painter, you know,
Mm-hmm.
any sort of house services. Like those people really benefit from doing local SEO, which SEMrush and Ahrefs are just not well suited for. They're just like they just don't have as much data as Google does. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're always going to be behind the eight ball compared to Google. They're always going to have less resources than Google, who's a multi-billion dollar company, versus them that are multi-million dollar companies. Um, like they're always going to be insufficient. Uh, they also they're really good to get started and kind of learn about, like that's one thing when I was researching about like people's opinions on these tools, is that one thing that came up is they're good for beginners to get started, right? You kind of learn about SEO as you're using these tools, and you're figuring out stuff about websites and what to gain experience on, and it'll give you a good jumping off point. But ultimately, there's some hard limits on these tools on what they can do, how they can help you, what they know about your competition, what they know about what they're ranking for keywords. Um, because ultimately, you know, Search Console from Google is going to know more about your website and how it ranks than any of these other tools, because one of them actually does rank you and the other one's guessing how Google ranks you. So no matter what, it's really hard to get around that cold hard fact of this is just not something that they do as well. One thing I would say, for if I'm like, hey, how should I get started with this and I don't have a lot of money, I would say go with Ahrefs with their free tier. They have something called
Mm.
Ahrefs Webmaster, uh, and it's their free version of their program, and it can only be added. You can only check on websites that you own, and it's like doing it through Search Console. And
Mm.
so if you verify through Search Console, those websites also can be active in Ahrefs, and so it's a really good way for people to get started.
Well, and the thing about the tools is there's a lot of free tools out there too, right? And I mean, there's a lot with the
Hmm.
freemium model, and it sounds like Ahrefs also has that freemium model. Now, I had a bad experience where I signed up for that, and then it would send me emails of all the clients, and yet every time I clicked on to read more or see more with their Search Console, which is similar name to a tool Google has, um, it was broken, but that was several years ago, so I might say try it again. But if okay, so what I would say about these two tools is pay for one over the other. You don't need to pay for them both. And
Yeah,
when we got to a certain point in our business, when we were able to pay for our tools, we like to pay for them for the year to save that extra 10 or 20% and not have to worry about that constant bill coming out of our account. And so we bought both tools for the year, and I don't think we're going to renew Ahrefs. Not that we don't like it. It's just, use the free tool. And there's so many, we use a lot of the Google tools out of the box. So,
yeah,
you know, and that combined with Google Sheets is pretty incredible, right? Um, Especially now as things are like we're dawning a new age, not of Aquarius people. We're dawning a new age of AI, right?
yeah,
Like so we went. I don't know what is if there was something else besides the information age, because we have the information age, and then things grew and expanded. Then we probably had the Silicon Valley stage, and now we're going into the AI, right, in life. And I think if we combine tools, that's where we're going to see, I think, a lot of progress. And I think it's going to be the humans that combine the different tools together to um, get what they want out of these tools that they're potentially paying for. But we're always free first if you can't afford it, because there are enough tools out there to do an SEO's job for free, right?
yeah, yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
definitely agree with that. That there's enough free tools or enough free tiers that you can kind of get started, get your feet wet, figure
Mm-hmm.
out what you like and what you don't like. Ahrefs also has like a $1 or $7 for the first month. It's like some weird
For
like,
$7 for the first week. No, I know that's Ahrefs. Yeah,
yeah,
SEM Rush has something too. Um, I don't remember what they are. But so those are the two really big tools. And then we have some tools like who's that email the Rich Fish Rankin.
Oh, Rand Fishkin,
Thank you.
the
um
for Moz, which yeah, Moz
he
is always kind of like the third like awkward wheel in that like SEO tools, even though they were the first ones. Uh,
mm, but are they more local
they've
based?
moved more to local as the market got more flooded on the general content. Like as the content space became more like it's just so much busier that I think that they've been focusing. But for us, being Canadians, like our market is always kind of is an afterthought. Um,
Mm,
so if you're looking at like if you're Canadian and you're looking for a local SEO tool, White Spark would be the company that I would look at because they are Canadian. They're based in Alberta, and so while
we've
they
never bought
predominant
their we've never bought their service though. And White Spark is now owned by it owns Reach Local now, and I
White
think yeah,
White Spark, did they?
is it White
Oh,
Spark?
they no, it's that local IQ would have bought them.
Local IQ, which is a
Yeah,
holding company. So local, I think they bought them, and they've bought a lot of SEO companies, which is really interesting. So I mean,
yeah,
sometimes we don't know who owns the tools we use, right? Because there's, you know, they get bought, and there was a lot of buying past couple of years. I don't think that's going to be happening so much as
no,
bigger companies eating little companies like they did in the last 3 years. So so right now we've gone through Screaming Frog. We've
yep,
gone through SEMrush, Ahrefs, Moz. We've talked about, and White Spark, right? So those
yep.
are I think those are the big tools. And then Rand Fishkin has another one that you can pay for, that
Sparkturo.
Spark Turo, that does some searches with, what was it? It's so interesting. It's
It's
like,
definitely it's a I would put it in the same category. It's a good it's slightly different because it's about like aggregating publications for people and figuring out like where like say your target audience, what stuff would they be looking at, what conferences would they go to, what magazines would they be reading, that kind of stuff,
mm,
what websites would they be visiting. So it's more about like audience research. I think that's
hmm,
closer to a description of what even how he's put it.
yeah.
Um,
But didn't they buy, what was that company? We used to get the emails all the time, and they bought that, and it was about the also trending topics, right?
oh, that was bought by
Sparkturo.
no, they got bought by SEMrush.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
And SEMrush also bought Backlinko, who we never really see
yeah,
anymore, but he was a speaker for them for a number of years.
yeah.
Um,
Well, until he's probably contractually obligated to be their speaker, and then
right. Yeah.
hightailed it out of there because he wanted to do his own thing. Yeah, Backlinko bought the company, and then Exploding Topics, that was the name of the
Mm.
company that
Oh,
used
it's
Google
great.
Trends to do differentials in like changes in trends over time.
I know. I really
So
liked that tool, actually. Made me want
yeah,
to
it was
invest in things.
yeah, it was definitely one of the cooler tools that I've less seen in a while of people using Google's API to build something new and interesting.
Mm. I think we're going to see a lot more new and interesting with the APIs and the bridging of products, like with the AI. But so let's talk about a couple other ones for local. And these revolve around Chrome extensions. So there's a lot of Chrome extensions for SEO and Google Ads that you can use, right? And there's a lot of add ons to Google Sheets that you can use. So usually, if you're an SEO, a lot of your job is sheets and looking at numbers and dicing and slicing, and super fun. You get to make up fun names for what you do. Um, like yeah, well, more there's more fun names for Google Ads. But so in that, with the Chrome extensions, there's a lot of free ones, but there's some paid ones. Now, we should share our secret tool. Secret tool. We use something called GMB Everywhere. We used to use GMB Spy. It is a Chrome. They're both Chrome extensions. GMB Spy looks like a penguin, and that was really great. But then we ran across GMB Everywhere, and it's a paid tool we actually use, and it helps us audit local businesses for local SEO. So we do a competitor audit, and we use that tool in conjunction with some manual actions that we do, like looking at people's profiles and what they're
Yeah.
doing, and like so who's winning in the market, because that's what we want to see, because we want to take over more area for our local businesses that we work with, right? Build them up,
Yeah.
and yeah, so I think those tools, like for local SEO, is there a tool you like, or is that's the best one we've found?
Yeah, it's GMB Everywhere is the one that I think we probably use the most.
Mm-hmm.
Like of Chrome extensions that we use. I'm just trying to look at my bar across the top to see if there's one that I forgot about. But yeah,
Mongols I use.
yeah, Mongols is a good one for websites where you don't like you can't use Moz.
Yeah. Oh, there's the Mars search bar
Sorry,
too,
Yoast. Duh,
and
duh.
Yoast. So that's the thing. Some like the Chrome extensions, by the way. GMB Everywhere does have a freemium model, which we started with. We usually start, you know, that freemium model really does work well, right? Because if you use a tool and then trust it, and then it's you can develop what you're doing with the tools, right? You just want them to enhance what you're doing, make it easier, and that's why we use GMB Everywhere. It makes it easier to see, like, you know, how many images, or it will do an audit, right, of the last time you posted and how many reviews they have. Now, these are all things you could probably look at, right? But it
Yeah, well,
some
not always. They don't always make it easy to like count the number of photos.
yeah, I
They
yeah. That's true.
they
They
don't.
also don't show the categories. They only showed the top
Yeah,
category, where I don't know how GMB Everywhere, but all the
because they're
uh
all there. They're in
yeah,
the source code of the page. That's
yeah.
all they're doing is that they go and scan it in the back end, like the basically do an inspect element, and they're all there in the back end. They just
Hmm.
don't tell you. And so what they're doing is they're just pulling it from that, and then they just pop it into the regular SERP, and so you see all the stuff that is all there. It's a lot of extra steps. Even if I knew it, like I know exactly how to do that, it's just a lot more work, right?
Cumbersome, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, it's very interesting because you can do SEO without any tools. Like I can go to a website page and I can right click and go to inspect, and then I can do a command find, and I can find all the keywords for that one main page, and oftentimes you can deduce what the people are generally targeting, right?
Yeah.
um, Especially, and you can tell if they've done SEO, because uh, all the SEOs should generally do similar things. Now SEO is really changing, right?
Yes.
In the marketplace right now, and so is Google Ads. So search is really changing, but I think, and a lot of people are afraid they're going to lose their jobs. um, but the reality behind things is that I don't know. I don't have that fear right now, because I see the bridging. I see that, if I take the tools and use them, and then I play with them and I figure out, where I think the movement's going to go, I can work within that. Like, I just think keywords are not going to be part of the past, but I think we're going to talk more about themes of pages versus keywords of a page, right?
Hmm.
Like, because Google can now interchange the word program with course, or the word class with learning. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
they'll,
they've even done it with the Performance Max in their ads platform now, right?
yeah.
They have search themes, and you give it a set of
Hmm.
keywords that are like make up a theme. And so that's like already they're kind of telling you that in this age of automation and large language models that they're going to be looking at it as not like a hard and fast like this is the keyword. It's more just what's the theme of this page, like you said,
Hmm.
and then and
Yeah.
I agree with you that I don't feel like our jobs going away. I just think that it's going to be expedited and improved, right? Like I think that these are going to supercharge certain elements of doing the job, but I don't think it's going to be one where it's going to be like, oh, your job's going away because like we've every discussion we've had about AI tools, they're just that, a tool. Like they're not like they are. There needs to be someone because if you just let it do its own
Managing the
thing,
tool. Yeah.
yeah, it's not perfect, none of these, like same for SEO tools, like it's the same takeaway as they're useful in getting a job done of a certain aspect
Hmm.
and understanding that it's not going to do everything for you. And there's no perfect tool out there, that just doesn't exist. And all you're doing is using it to improve an element of your job. And so
Hmm.
once you recognize it as such, I don't think that it's going to take your job right now.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so they're going to get rid of some mundane tasks, but there's other things to really consider, especially when our clients start learning about these tools, because they're going to start hearing, "Oh, you can just do this yourself. Why worry about it?" And I think the reality behind it is you do need somebody to manage the tool.
Yeah.
And although it can get rid of some things you do, the tool only pulls in information from before 2021. So that's so depending on your market, right? So um and most markets, like even lawyer market, which is very stagnant in my opinion, and it doesn't change much. Law can change in 2 years, and therefore you might not get relevant information. So you want to be like, I mean, we build website pages for people, and although we could use chat gpt, and we do, it's just a starting point. It's not, and it's the combination of the tools that I think helps us. But as for paying for tools, and the tools we talk about, there's a lot of free tools for Chrome extensions, like we mentioned Mongools, and there's SEO something. It's red. um but it helps. Chris uses that a lot. He's someone we work with, and
Yeah.
people use it to see like what the headings are on the page. So, and you were talking a minute ago about being able to see the source code. So right click in, inspect, and then maybe command find the H1, the H2, the H3. So it's just pulling that source code. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, it's source code. It's like the what's on, because the website has to get rendered, and
Hmm.
so when it does that, it makes source code.
Yeah.
Um,
I love our chats, by the way. I do. I do. I just think they're so fun, and we learn a lot. Now,
oh,
there's one tool I wanted to bring up. Oh,
oh,
what? Uh,
I just
what you
want to
got?
clarify something as well. Is that you said it's only ChatGPT that has that restriction of 2021.
Oh.
Open source AI tools don't have that constraint. They didn't. So they're doing their own thing because they gathered their own data. They're doing.
Hmm.
So it's really a lot of these ones that are like the big name tools that have this time restriction,
Okay.
but a lot of the newer ones don't. So that's just one thing to keep in mind as well. So if it's open source AI tools, they generally don't have that. They're scanning the internet currently.
Yeah. And open source AI tools are outpacing Chat GPT. Is that, and that's correct? Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and OpenAI, who's the company that owns ChatGPT, is not an open source company, despite the irony of the name.
Oh, interesting. Right? The
Yeah,
irony. It's just like 100% pure beef. That's a name.
yeah,
Um, but so I think our conclusion here is that use the tools that are free first,
yep,
and then usually they'll have a freemium model. There's a lot of tools out of the box from Google if you're doing search. So Google Analytics, Google Sheets, Tag Manager, Google Search Console, Microsoft Clarity, uh, um, Bing Webmaster Tools. So lots of free tools to get information. And then there's lots of free Chrome extensions. Now there's one tool I want to bring up, and I can say I don't think I like it, but I haven't had the real opportunity to use it. But the reason I haven't had the real opportunity to use it is because it's so darn damn, can I say damn cumbersome to log into. Because so, and that tool is YouTube SEO Tube Buddy. It's just, you have to sign up with a personal Gmail account, and then that can
yeah,
screw up your Chrome. And then so you can go and log in uh, incognito, but you have to accept that you can have the extensions of it. Anyway, I've owned this tool for 6 months, and like I haven't been able to really use it because just logging in is such a pain in the butt. Um,
Yeah, it definitely has some limitations, not on its fault. It has to do with YouTube being one of the hardest platforms to do logging into, like
mm,
on like connecting and adding people to channels and stuff like that. It's definitely the one we've struggled with the most as a platform.
yeah. Yeah, and we're seeing a lot more search happen over on TikTok, actually, which is really interesting. If you haven't tried doing a search for something you like over there, you should check it out because it's quite a good search engine. And the reality is, it's a video search engine. So, and they're short videos. So, if you want to learn about a product and you get different opinions pretty quickly, which is quite unique, right? Um, so, yeah,
Hmm.
so there are pros and cons of all the tools we use and think about for SEO. So if you know any tools that we didn't mention or you want our opinion on a tool, let us know in the comments. And don't forget, if you're not in the Facebook group Cyberpunk Geeks Marketing Mixer, come join us over there. That's where we're all talking about marketing and sharing our wins and our successes and trying to push each other into the, I don't know, into the future. And we're next week we are talking about failing. Do you know? Bum
It's going
bum
to be
bum.
email marketing, and it's going to be with Rena and Greg.
Ooh, email marketing. The redheaded stepchild of marketing that actually works really well that we should be using more. So join us next week, and we can't wait to see you next week. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.